the Council of Europe is intergovernmental organizations which is composed of 47 member states, European member states, which include the 27 member states of the EU, but goes much larger than that towards the east, in particular with Georgia, Azerbaijan, and Armenia, and Russia, another country, obviously. And the objective of this organization, which was set up in 1949, is to promote the protection of human rights, democracy, and rule of law. And it's in direct connection with this objective of protection of human rights that the Council of Europe is actually working in the field of bioethics and looking at the implications for the protection of human rights of the development in biology and medicine. And it is in this context that the Council of Europe has been looking at the impact of genetic testing and its implications for human rights. The work on genetic testing that have been done at the Council of Europe has led to different legal instruments, which at the beginning were non-legally binding, and more recently a new additional protocol to the Convention on Human Rights and Biomedicine has been elaborated, focusing specifically on genetic testing. It's true that besides general provisions of the protocol governing the conditions to offer tests, including diagnosis testing, the main concern is predictivity. Therefore, the protocol puts a lot of emphasis on the informations to be provided for patients who would be considering going through a test, for these persons to really understand what are the implications of the test and the meaning of the result, because most diseases are multifactorial. So even if you have a genetic test that shows mutations, this will not tell you whether you will be developing the disease or not. So it's only a probability, and it has to be combined with other elements. So it has to be clear in the mind of the persons before they take a decision to make sure this decision is really informed. The protocol also makes sure that the person, when considering predictive testing, is offered a genetic counseling, a support to really understand the implications, and also be accompanied to manage the result and evaluate the result, understand it properly, and take appropriate decisions, because the decision is always the decision of the patient, of the persons who went through the test. And there are at the moment certain conditions indeed where those requirements regarding prior information and genetic counseling may not be really well provided. And I think, for example, on direct-to-consumer testing, which is one of the areas in which we have been discussing a lot in elaborating the protocol. Genetic testing should be carried out under individualized medical supervisions, which is quite difficult to do merely by a phone call. And the idea here is to ensure that the conditions under which a person is offered a test and carry out a test is proper to ensure the protection of their fundamental rights, in particular their private life, their autonomy. And discrimination in this context of health context is maybe less relevant, but for the private life and autonomy it's very important, because the implications are not minor, and it gives information on the future which some people may not want to know, especially if there is no possibility to act either in terms of preventions or therapy. Well, at the beginning, at the starting point actually, when the Council of Europe decided to to address this issue of genetic testing, it has actually a broader, more ambitious project, which is to look at genetic application in all the fields. For pragmatic reason, I should say, we ended up finalizing a first legal instrument addressing genetic testing for health purposes. Only because it was necessary to look at this area to get some agreement on some fundamental principles before addressing other fields of applications. And so now we continue in this line of ideas to address other areas where genetic testing and genetic testing result, I should say, could be used. And we're starting with the field of insurance. And we have actually extended or I'd say not limited the work to genetic testing, but more generally to predictive data, because there are non-genetic examination, for example, which provide predictive data. We were, for example, brain imagings, or even more basic and more classical type of tests like cholesterol level, which provide predictive information. So we are now looking at the use of all this predictive medical or health-related informations in the context of insurance. So the main concern is, again, protection of private life, but more relevantly, the risk for discriminations. When we talk about private insurance in most European countries, we think about life insurance, but there are other type of insurance covering risk which are more related to health services or human services in a more general terms, which could be considered essential needs, and where you may be more concerned if there's no equity of access to such a type of insurance coverage.